Hi everyone, and welcome back. In this video, we're going to look at section 2.2, functions. So to begin, let's define what a function is. A function is a correspondence between a first set called the domain and a second set called the range, such that each member of the domain corresponds to exactly one member of the range. Now that's a lot to take in all at once, so why don't we break it down piece by piece. Let's look at like a picture. So usually the picture that they have is they have some set that's the domain, and then you've got this function or this rule of correspondence between the domain and the range. And what it says is that everything in this set over here, everything, right? Because it says each member of the domain. So all of these guys all have to go to each have to go to exactly one member of the range. So for example, if a single member of the domain were corresponded to two different members of the range, that would actually not be a function. It's only a function when each member of the domain, each of these guys, is associated with exactly one element of the range. So that still might be confusing, but let's look at some examples now. Now that we've fleshed out the definition a little bit more, let's get into some examples. So here is we want to think whether this is an example of a function or not. So let's suppose that our domain here, our first set, is just the set of human beings. You know, there's 7 billion plus people on the earth, and we're going to view all of them, and then the range will be each of their respective ages. So like for example, this doesn't cover every part of the domain because I'm only one human being, but my name's Oliver, and for example, I would be matched with the number 25, assuming that we're not doing any kind of fractions or anything like that, right? So I would be 25. That is exactly one member of the range. 25 is exactly one age, right? I can't possibly have two different ages. I only have one age, and that goes for everyone, right? Everybody only has one age. It almost sounds silly to even say it because of how obvious it is that everybody only has one age. But yeah, so this is a function. Another example is here. Let's think of one that's not a function, just to see it in contrast to something that is a function. So let's say the domain is, let's just say it's like movie directors. And let's say the range is their movies, or I'll say the movies directed, right? So any movie that's directed and the movie directors, is this a function? So the domain's movie directors, the range is those movies that they directed. Is this a function? Well, you have to ask if for each director there is exactly one movie that they directed, right? Exactly one. But there are directors out there that have directed plenty of movies, right? Most directors direct more than one movie. I'm sure the vast majority of them do. So this is not a function. This is not a function because many directors, most of them, have directed more than one movie. So, for example, let's just say Quentin Tarantino. I'm not sure if you know about him, but he's a pretty prominent director. He's actually one of my favorite directors, but he directed the movies Reservoir Dogs, which I don't necessarily recommend, and Kill Bill, right? He directed many, many more movies than Reservoir Dogs and Kill Bill, but this suffices to show that it's not a function, since Quentin Tarantino is being associated with all of the movies that he directed. So he's not being associated with only one movie. He's being associated with many more. I think he's directed like 10 plus movies or something like that. So yeah, I think that's it for this video. So we've introduced what functions are. In the next video, we'll maybe get into some function notation, and we'll talk more about domain and range and see some more examples, probably with more numbers and sets involved rather than these kind of human non-math like examples. But this is still all math. What we're doing is still all math. We're just talking about functions, and the first example was a function, and the second example wasn't, because the reasons mentioned earlier. So hopefully this video is clear. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments, and we'll see you in the next video, guys.